CBS News has learned it was only after Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab launched his terrorist attack aboard Flight 253 that the U.S. State Department discovered he had an active U.S. visa through June 2010, a shocking failure of an airport security system drawing ever-increasing fire.
There were definite errors made here.
As first reported by CBS News today, the U.S. government twice failed to find Abdulmutallab had an active multiple-entry U.S. visa, issued on June 16, 2008, at the U.S. Embassy in London. According to a law enforcement source, the first failure came on November 19, 2009, the same day Abdulmutallab's father warned officials at the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria about his son. Then again on November 20th in Washington, after Dr. Mutallab's concerns were forwarded there, officials failed for a second time to figure out the 23-year-old Nigerian national held an active U.S. visa.
When you have a father reporting information about his son, that he believes his son may be leaning towards extremist views, he doesn't know where his son is, that's enough for me to be able to say, we need to find out what this individual is doing, where he's at, who he's involved with, as soon as possible.
The visa breakdown is one of a raft of potential red flags that were somehow missed, such as Abdulmutallab paid nearly $3,000 in cash for his plane ticket and checked no bags, carrying aboard only a small bag for a scheduled 2-week trip. How did screening at 2 airports fail to detect an estimated 76 grams of the explosive PETN and a syringe packed with a chemical catalyst concealed in a special pouch sewn into his underwear? Why don't the Dutch use these body scan machines that can detect explosives on U.S.-bound passengers? Amsterdam Airport has 17 of them. The Dutch say the U.S. won't allow it. U.S. officials say that's just not true. Either way, experts say the suspect shouldn't have gotten through.
If he would appear on a halal flight, he would be suspected, and the chemical material on his body would be found very easily.
Despite such criticism, Homeland Security head Janet Napolitano took a most positive approach on Sunday.
The system worked. The system has worked. Everybody reacted the way they should.
Today, however, that tune had changed.
You said the system worked. Do you want to take that back or rephrase that?
Well, I think taking that phrase out of context doesn't make much sense. And obviously, we are now going back and looking at what were the events that led up to that individual getting on this plane.
Late today, a State Department spokesman said of the visa issue, quote, "Clearly this was a very near miss, and we need to review the procedures," Harry.
Armen Keteyian, thanks. Bob Orr is our justice correspondent, and he joins us tonight from Pittsburgh. Bob, I want to talk to you about this explosive, PETN. Had the suspect used it properly, would he have been able to bring down that plane?
Very likely, Harry. 76 grams of PETN would fit in a pouch a little smaller than that notebook. It doesn't seem like much, but fully detonated at altitude, coupled with pressurization forces and high winds, likely could have torn the airplane apart. Now, the suspect, the FBI says, was trying to set it off at a lower altitude. It would have done less damage to the plane, but still a hole may have ensued. Could have caused controllability problems. Maybe a fire and evacuation would have been difficult. To give you an idea how powerful this might have been, take a look at this government test done a few years ago on a bomb the size of the one Richard Reed tried to set off. You see that? A pretty powerful explosive. And that was only about half as much material, Harry, is what Abdulmutallab is said to have carried aboard Northwest Flight 253.
Abdulmutallab was sitting in seat 19A. Why was that significant?
Might have been a coincidence, or it might have been a strategy. 19A is right against the wall of the cabin and right where the wing meets the fuselage. Also right there, a couple of fuel tanks. He may have been hoping to leverage the power blast by rupturing one of the fuel tanks, or maybe both fuel tanks. That could have been in his mind, Harry.
And Bob, finally, how significant is it that Al-Qaeda in Yemen has taken credit for some of this?
I think maybe quite significant. In the past, these so-called franchisees, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, also Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb and Africa, have focused on regional issues, nationalistic issues. This may be the first attempt to attack the far enemy, that being the U.S., Harry.
Bob Orr with us tonight. Thank you.